भूल जाते हैं, बड़ी चीजें याद आ जाती हैं।
So this is really good. So I hope some people have already joined. Why to unnecessarily keep waiting for others? They will keep on joining over a period of time.
Yes, sir. We can start, sir. We can start, sir.
I hope. So good evening, Sandeep, and formally, this is the third lecture probably we are going to have from you. I hope we were expecting much before, but there was something like communication, and you were called in as the third speaker for the day. And for others, those who are there, he's a very senior IPS officer, and he was in 1987-90 batch. And Sandeep has been into the police services and IPS, and he was outstanding in academic when he was in college, and I had the privilege to teach him in college. My brother was also with him. And thereafter, when he joined the IPS, the civil services, I hope we have been in continuous touch with each other, and we still carry on the same relationship as it was long back in 87. And Sandeep has been one of the first where we thought of having this alumni. And he was the first, I hope, General Secretary for it, or Sandeep?
Sir, initially, when I was there in 99 to 2000, 2001 as only joint secretary, फिर आपने secretary
joint secretary, yes.
upgrade कर दिया था, sir. But presidents were much senior even at that time.
Yes. So in that case, he was the first to say कि सर एक alumni association start करते हैं, और उसके बाद हमने dinners किए कितने सारे, and he was the one. I hope we had during the Geo time, we used to have one KK Majumdar Memorial debate. I hope the present in present scenario we could not keep it up, but he was the one who used to finance 10,000 rupees for that debate, and I hope it was really very catchy. So that means looking at his approach towards geographers and the alumni, I hope he has been great. And the kind of topic he has taken up, role of geography, disaster management, the preparedness, ये सब चीजें बहुत जरूरी इसलिए हैं कि he has been the IG for Rapid Task Force. So that means he was looking at a very strategic point to see all disasters, how to manage it up, and how the community responses should be there. I hope he was pioneer in that. Then he, from the IG Rapid Task Force, he again went back to, but he served in between the CRPF, क्या कौन सा? CISF में he was there. He looked after the all management of metros and probably everything, leaving aside one or two things, but he was having a very strategic position again, the Central District Security Force. Then he went back again to Tamil Nadu, and then he was also looking after the coastal security. But even this coastal Tamil Nadu is also very prone to disasters and everything. And finally, he has been promoted to Additional Director General of Police. I hope we congratulate you, Sandeep, for your very top high-ranking position in the civil services. And all geographers are proud of you. And you are also an inspiration to the younger generation. Those who pick up these services, and they should join and do a kind of a work you have been doing throughout to see your capabilities and caliber to improve the services in Tamil Nadu. And we still hope to see you on the top ranking position somewhere in any of the belt services. And we will be so happy to see you there again. So therefore, I hope I should not take much of the time, but he has a huge dimensional way of looking at the life and the geography as a subject, and the kind of topic he has really picked up is very relevant to the people, those who are undertaking research in disasters and preparedness, and then the responses. So in a way, those who are into the research, those who have done all these courses, and those people who are in graduation and post-graduation, I hope they will be benefited by his pragmatic approaches to look at how the disaster need to be managed up. So therefore, Sandeep's dimensional way of looking at these disasters, we should be able to listen to him, and we should give him more time. And I am very thankful that he has agreed to, in spite of all these busy schedule, one can see the kind of rank he carried with him. He hardly gets time to meet so many people, but he has taken out time to meet you all geographers. I hope we are proud of you, Sandeep, once again. And I leave the platform to you to discuss all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words. I'm sure some of the words always come out from you only to praise and to appreciate us. And we have been trying to live up to what we learned from you during our college. And also, of course, my association continues as a family member of yours and being very close to your family. But always thank you for encouraging, even at this age, sir. You inspire us, you motivate us, you make us actually strive for more than what we have. So thank you very much once again.
Thanks.
And, I don't know. Thank you, sir. I don't know now today who will be the moderating. I think Deepika was in touch, and she was. I told her how I generally like my sessions, and in this I had requested her that I'll split it into a session of basically a talk, and then also take a lot of question answers, because I like to learn also from students and other participants. I see my batchmate Simriti is also here. So there are others. So I would like to do that, but I don't know. I cannot see Deepika right now. Or where is she? Deepika, are you here? I mean, how much time do I have, and what do I go ahead? If you can let me know, whoever is moderating. I'm sorry. I mean, she was in touch with me. If somebody else is moderating, you tell me what is the time limit I have.
सर देयर इज नो टाइम लिमिट. आप जितना टाइम चाहिए आपको आप आराम से यूज कर सकते हैं, 1 घंटे 1.5 घंटे 2 घंटे. और अदरवाइज अगर आप मॉडरेटर किसी को चाहते हैं तो प्रफुल्लित भैया विल मॉडरेट, ही विल मॉडरेट द होल सेशन.
No, it's no, I can carry on with myself. So see what I will do now. It's around 5:15, so I'll generally put it for about an hour. So
Sandeep, this is Dr. Anshu. Can I just make a very small request? I mean,
ma'am, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you on this platform, ma'am.
Yes. Lovely to have you with us. And I would say that there are a couple of first-year students who have joined the session today. So besides the talk on disaster preparedness and all those issues, I would like you to give them a little bit of an input about, career as a civil servant and so on. And because they do require a lot of motivation and a direction. And and who can be better than you to do that? So split your session in whichever way, but let's say 5-10 minutes for that also.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Your advice is well taken, ma'am. So it will help me just plan my talk. So what I like to do first, because the topic at hand is there, and when we go to question answers, I like to take even questions about the services and what to expect. I have been associating myself with a friend of mine who runs IAS Institute here. Actually, Mr. Vajiram and Ravi, Mr. Ravindran, who runs one of the leading IAS coaching institute, is my mentor and very close to me. They've recently opened in Chennai, but the main thing is in Rajendra Nagar in Delhi. And there is also in South, if somebody is there from South, in Chennai, there is a Shankar IAS. So I associate myself with them off and on, only on a philanthropic basis, not monetary. Some of the students who qualify for civil services interview, I take some one-on-one sessions. So I don't mind talking to some youngsters who have just joined college, or even some seniors who are planning, if at all, to join the civil services. I'll take in a question answer session after I finish my main talk. So my main talk, I'm not going to take more than about 25 minutes, because that way it remains interesting, and also one can grasp the aspect what I'm trying to give to you. So I'll start basically with the topic of the day. So that is about exactly, I also forget what the real, okay, now it is role of geography in disaster preparedness, response and mitigation. So this is there. Actually, it is a very big topic, and it's a vast topic. It cannot be covered in a small session. So it's going to be more of a talk. It's not going to be a lecture mode, and I'll give some anecdotes and some examples. So when I talk about, whenever you talk about disaster, see, there is a very old joke, and whenever you read a lot of these other geography literature book, so what is the geographer, or what is geography? So they used to say, and they say geography is what geographers do. So if I am a geographer by studies and I do disaster planning and management, or when I did, or policing, so whatever I do is geography. That's what they say. It's very simple definition. So about a geographer. So geographer's role could be, by education we have learned geography, and by profession we are into a different field. So but geography is an inherent part of it. So whatever we do becomes geography. And in this aspect, my experience with this lead agency of disaster response under the Government of India, a force called National Disaster Response Force. I was there as IG during those times, and even now, IG is the #2 officer because it's not a very big force. And I happened to work for about 3 years between 2012 to 2015. So my experience comes with that. And why I like to discuss this topic, actually, I'm doing my PhD. I could never do PhD in real time as a student. So I kept on doing a couple of courses over the period of time. And after my graduation, I also couldn't do my MA that time in geography. I couldn't complete after first year of D school. And right now I'm doing my research topic in PhD from Vellore Institute of Technology, VIT here, and I'm doing in disaster management, and my topic is about response only. I'm very passionate about response, so we have to distinguish. See, disaster management is a very big overall. It's like a round. If you know, there is a circle. What we call is a disaster cycle. So it is divided into 4 points, 4 subsection. If you say each quarter, like a pizza, if we divide it and cut it, so big pizza, round pizza, cut into 4 slices. So each slice, so one slice is called mitigation. The second slice would be preparation, third response, and fourth recovery. So generally it is like this. It goes in a cycle. And why we say it's a cycle? Because one segment is related to the other segment. So the mitigation leads to preparation. Preparation leads to response. Response to recovery. Recovery again to mitigation. So this is basically disaster cycle. But why are we talking about disaster management or disaster as a geographer? Why it is becoming so important and so relevant? See, it becomes important and relevant. Why? Reason is the amount of destruction what happens after any cataclysmic event. Well, the event is itself known as a disaster. What is a disaster? The classical definitions are many, but I would simply put it. So any natural event, the mother nature or earth has been given. So there are a lot of natural events which keep on happening. So this natural event, it could be either geological, it could be atmospheric, or it could be technological. See, technological is the one which is man-made. But the other 2 events, geological and atmospheric, are natural. You actually cannot stop them. When these events are happening on the earth, see, human beings have put themselves in between these events. When a cyclone is taking place, it used to take place millions of years earlier also. But there was no disaster. Why? Because human beings were not there. Because human beings did not come in between a cyclone which is going. The minute we come in between, we get hurt. We get stuck by the calamity. We suffer losses of life. We suffer loss of property. We suffer. So this suffering, or the event which leads to human kind of suffering, basically should be called as a disaster. The event or the nature itself cannot be called as a disaster. We can label it disaster when it happens, and it is beyond the coping capability of the local people. Suppose like a disaster strikes somewhere down south of Madras or Chennai, and if there is no population there, the cyclone will just pass, and we won't even come to know. It will be heavy rainfall. But if there is a big city or big town nearby, and then the cyclone goes over it, and you're not prepared, you're not taking shelter, you have a lot of loss of life, damage to public properties, the electricity cables they break. So this is typical disaster. Something which is beyond the coping capability of the local population or the people surrounding becomes a disaster. And we label, there is another terminology which we use very often, is called hazards. So hazards are, we have started naming the geological, atmospheric and technological features as hazards, because for us they are hazard. They are harming us. They are harming the human civilization. So we call them hazard. So hazard could be of various nature. You can have a hazard, maybe tectonic shift resulting into earthquake. Then you can have like a glacial ice falling down in mountains, leading to flooding and blockage in Himalayas. So there are many kinds. So we have to understand very clearly. So what is a disaster? Now, having said that, disaster is only when it affects us. So now why disaster management? So disaster management is again, because if anybody goes to finds out there was a super cyclone in Orissa in 1999. See, they were over the death figure itself was in 50,000 totally displaced and all. It was amazing, phenomenal. We could not do much. But similarly, another cyclone which came in 2013 called Phylin. In Phylin, there were not even 50 deaths. So what happened in all this time, say 14 years, 15 years, what happened? We were able to save so many lives. Yes, we managed. What we managed to take people to safety. We were able to take them into shelters. We were able to announce that the cyclone is coming. You go inside. So we managed. So why management? Yes, to save lives. To save lives and property. If you actually see international known figures of disasters, say in a decade or every year, it runs into billions of dollars every year, and maybe in trillions of dollars if you say, take for example a decade. So much of money is involved, so much of investment. That's why we started managing, and that's why the term management comes. So I've just given a very small built-up framework of how do we deal, why management, why disaster management, and why geological. And as a geographer, as I said, wherever we are, whatever we do, becomes geography. Here, it is very important to understand why geography, because geography helps us understand the physical aspects. If you say geological, the first year students will be studying geomorphology. Second year, we go climatology. We actually understand what is happening around the world. The others may find it difficult. I'll give you another example about the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004 in December, 25th December 2004. During this Indian Ocean tsunami, I was that time posted in down south in Tamil Nadu. I was a district SP in a district called Tuticorin. So this is just above Kanyakumari. When this thing happened, everybody was saying there is extremely high tide. And so people started vacating. Initial calls were like that. We still didn't get an alert from Indonesia that Bandar Aceh, there was a massive earthquake which resulted into sliding of earth slip and then tsunami. But somehow my geography mind told me if the heavy high tides are coming inside, why are they going back? It went back equally fast in an hour and a half. So that's how I could make out it's a tsunami. I told my bosses, okay, this is not what you say, sir, it's an extremely high tide. It's not possible. High tides are possible only it's a systematic and cyclic thing. But this is a unique thing. It has happened all of a sudden without warning, and the water has receded. So this is tsunami. So like that, a geographer can associate with so many things. So having said that, the role of geography, or as a geographer, what you can do is not only about your understanding. Now, the single most, what I feel, advancement which took place in geography, which I found it very interesting in 87 to 90. For the first time, we saw computers coming to geography department, and there was a GIS project given. So that time we had another Professor Manusi Lere ma'am. So she took that project, and that's how the GIS we were introduced. I mean, though we never had much classes, we used to sneak inside sometime and see what is happening. So if the geographers of today, you have a vision, and how do we actually enter, and where is our role in the overall disaster management? I think it's nothing else but GIS. So GIS is such a tool which is incorporating, which is synergizing all the various aspects of geography and bringing them together in a nutshell. So we can have various kind of solutions which are available on this platform. So if I say, okay, say GIS, I'll go to different three aspects we discussed: preparedness, response, and mitigation, how we are associating. Now, GIS, what? Hazard mapping. You have risk assessment. You have all digital maps, knowledge-based disaster management, crowd GIS, the data, policy-oriented information. Then you have community information, spatial risk assessment. So wherever you have so much of thing in a GIS, the spatial aspect of the data, and then you combine with the cloud aspect and you gather everything. So what you actually come with is this platform. And how it is most important is, say for example, preparedness. Preparedness basically is you preparing a society. You are making a society less vulnerable. So if I am staying next to a coast, or if I am staying in Delhi, what I can prepare? So initially is what we required is in preparedness period, a lot of accurate data. What has happened historically to the earthquakes which have happened in and around sub-Himalayan areas? If we have a data, we know the frequencies and we know what used to happen in during those times. Okay, maybe a place is getting cut off. How to reach? If this road is not there, take a different road. So this is data which is available to. So when we prepare, we like to gather the data so that we are able to come up with the solution as and when any disaster takes place. Then what happens is the real-time visualization of the area of interest. Say, for example, we would like to study some kind of a flooding pattern. So flooding pattern of Kosi River, say, for example, Bihar. Bihar, the plight of Bihar, or the sorrow of Bihar, Kosi, every year it floods. Every year the nearby areas are getting inundated. So, and once in a decade, there is a massive flood. So once you put all the data and you visualize it, okay, now this village, last time it came. So if there is so much of water release, so much of rainfall, till where it will come. So on a map-based platform, you can put all these information available, and you can actually real-time visualize what happens when so much of flood and so much of water is released. So that is again which you can do in a period of preparedness on your platform. So then what happens? Reduce time involved in activities. So how do you do that? So for each and everything, suppose again in Bihar, if you have to supply food to these people who are marooned for maybe 1 week, the roads are cut off. How do you do that? So the shortest time to be taken. I mean, the previous experience will prove that 3 years back when there was such a flood, we went in a boat. But this time maybe we can drop the food. It's possible to drop because rain is not there. Helicopters can go, or we can use drones now. So all these things, how to best to reduce time to reach out to these people who are in disaster prone area. So this can be done by this platform. Then important resources, how do you place them? So every year we know when the floods are coming. So we can have strategic location, high points. There is a elevated place where the flood is not reaching. So small hillock. We can have that place for the safety. We can build a shelter. We can have a place where we can keep our equipment. We can keep food every time the flood comes. So this would be forming a part of a period which is the preparation period. So these are the kind of thing which you can do in one phase of the cycle, in disaster cycle, using the information which we have. So once you prepare, you are ready to face the disaster. So what happens? Then the disaster takes place. Immediately after disaster, what you do? You respond. You respond. How do you respond? You immediately evacuate. You leave the place. You have to go to a higher ground in case of a tsunami, or in case of flooding. In case of an earthquake, you have to come down from your buildings and take open places. So this is called response. Then after evacuation, what do you do when you leave? Then you have to go for rescue. Those who are stranded, those who are, we are not able to save them, we are not able to bring them. So we go and rescue them. Once they are rescued, we have to take them for treatment and medical thing. Then what happens? Then you have something called dispatches, say those who are left back to give food to them. Then finally, what do you coordinate the activity? अब इसको बचा लिया, ambulance आ गया था, सामान भी दे दिया, सब कुछ stable है, things are getting normal, but somebody has to coordinate till we become to old level of normalcy. So all these things form part of response. Now, geography as a tool with our basic knowledge, first of all is to locate a site. Suppose a small village has been inundated. I keep on giving example because India is more prone to floods and these disasters are cyclic. So my experience also I feel. So exact location, the last mapping, how one road was blocked. So we took a Kacha road and then we had gone. So these are the least time taken to go to a shortest time taken. This could be even for a city. We did this module in when I was in CISF in Delhi Metro. So we had a scenario. We used to call a doomsday scenario. So as in suppose Delhi Metro, right now you're traveling and you're stuck at Rajiv Chowk or somewhere. And all of a sudden there is a terrorist attack and there is some damage to the metro station or something. What do? You have to rescue people. When you take rescue, where is the nearest hospital? How many beds are available? How would the ambulance reach the spot? And suppose this hospital is over, where is the next nearest hospital which is available? So we actually plotted in and around all metro stations how many beds were available. So these kind of information which can be collected and least time taken to reach this. And suppose the main road, for example, if you have to go to the nearest hospital, Lamano from Knott Place, you're going there, but that main road itself is come under attack. So how do you go? The next available route you have to take. So all these things are solutions are available. That's how the tool was designed. So this information during response stage is very important. Exactly what do we do? And when all these things are in real time, we can keep on updating the data. Suppose yesterday, because of COVID, the hospital was full, but we are still sending patients there. But the patients need not be sent there. It's already full. So real time data. We know this hospital is full, only 100 beds. So we go to the next because we have 1,000 injured. So we have to send all the 1,000 in the shortest point. So all these things in response category, we can plan and plot. And the tool of GIS is an amazing tool, and we keep on developing that. So once preparation was there, we made a plan, we made facilities, then the response, because some tragedy did happen. So when it is all happened, what do? There is a phase of recovery, which we deal recovery and mitigation together. So mitigation is nothing else to how to prevent from reoccurrence of the same event. So when we have time, we can keep on planning in mitigation phase, high risk areas which are there. Let us keep on planning. Okay, this is vulnerable. In Delhi, all high-rise building after Ubhar fire tragedy. So all the cinema theaters, then malls later on which came, and high-rise building. So these are all high risk. So they have to be plotted, risk areas worked out. How do we deal with the situation as in comes? So these mitigations are how to prevent. So in a fire, say theater, if there is a fire, so if we plan how to prevent and how to escape, that will come as a part of mitigation. Then there are facilities that implementation of necessary mechanisms. So we have to make laws. We have to make like in COVID. So the DM Act said we cannot have so many people inside a mall or a theater or at an airport. We have to maintain social distancing. So these come part as a rules, regulation, legislation. They come part of mitigation. So we have prepared. Till the DM Act was not there, a lot of areas were in grey, but now the rules positions have been there. So these will come as part of institutionalized in that cycle as a mitigation cycle. And it's a long-term planning and long-term task. So it won't be possible for us, say in 1 year, 2 years. So we are preparing a society. We are preparing like Japanese children. They are so known to face disasters, especially Japan is so prone. Suppose it happens, earthquake. So we are not at that stage. So if we have to come to that stage, we have to plan long-term planning, visionary planning. So what do we do? Use more satellites for spatial mapping. So we get more data. We get from everywhere. We should be able to generate more sensors. Say for example, I remember this Uttarakhand disaster of 2013, that is 16th or 17th of June 2013. What actually happened? 5,000 people lost their lives. Kedarnath was almost wiped out. There were two kind of, actually the post study says it wasn't a single disaster. There was a heavy rainfall going on for about 4 days. So initially what had happened in upper Mandakini, a lot of landslides had happened. So the place, the river was already getting choked with the debris. So when the debris, it was getting choked and water could not flow. But on top of that, what had happened just above Kedarnath, that Chorbari Tal was there. So that Glof, the water got so much accumulated, it burst. So one disaster was preceding another, but this information was not available. So we knew only bits and pieces. We were not watching that. There was not so much of remote sensing even at that time. So what happened? We met two disasters in one. But later on, only studies started proving there were other things happening. But we didn't have so much of information. We could not warn people in Kedarnath. If there is a chance you evacuate, go to higher places. Then we had this disaster. And with this disaster, so much of lives were lost. So all these things form a part of mitigation and how we build up a very resilient society and how we set up mechanism, laws. So that's more important than technological driven tools. We may have tools, but how to effectively use them, how to proliferate these tools. India is a big country. We are a federal structure. The government of India is thinking something, maybe state government something. So there are different systems working together. How to make it like one? In case of a disaster, we all should come one. There should be same protocols, same kind of drills, same kind of response. And that's how the tool of geography is very helpful, in a sense, understanding overall concepts. And to contribute from side of geography is the most important, the GIS. So with that tool, we can actually amalgamate everything. So I think here I'll like to stop of my main talk because I don't want to go into technical. I tried to include a lot of data or with examples which you could understand. So because in 30 minutes, I cannot expect to give something where you will grasp all the facts. So I wanted to make it as lucid as possible. So this is the basic talk. I'll stop here. First, I can take if somebody has any question initially only on the topic at hand. Maybe later the end part I can again come back to you regarding something about services and what to do. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you one and all. So if anybody has any question, or should I?
Sir, I have a question. This is Prafulit. I'm doing my PhD from JNU, and I'm also teaching at Miranda. One of my papers is disaster management with third year students. So they asked me an interesting question, and I'm passing on to you. They say that how community-based disaster management is actually applied. The students wanted some examples, and same is my question also. What can community-based disaster management practices be? If you could quote some, and also indigenous knowledge, sir. Some examples from indigenous knowledge that could be used in disaster management. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, hi, Prafulit. I mean, you spoke to me. I think your name was there as part of those people who are coordinating this. I think, Prafulit. Yeah. Okay. Thank you,
sir, yes,
Prafulit.
Sir, right,
yeah. Prafulit, you're dot on because I think these students have done a little bit more. So their question is very pointed. So, see, community-based disaster management practices is it's a separate topic on its own. And why community-based? Initially, the approach was top to bottom approach. Somebody will plan in Delhi or state capital, and then we'll plan this local area needs this. We will send everything. They will get all the things. They will have a shelter. But the community, what did actually the community want? How the community wanted to respond to a particular disaster, how they visualize themselves saving themselves, but that was not considered. So it was not bottom to top. They were not taken, they were not part of consultancy, and it was like top to bottom as usual. By the time we delivered them the tools which they could use for during disaster or during a tragedy, but it was not available with them. So gradually this concept started evolving. Mostly it was there earlier, but after the DM Act of 2004, it started evolving. Because the Disaster Management Act of 2004, after Indian Ocean tsunami, it was decided, and the act was passed in 2005. So one of the approaches is there is a state level, national level disaster module, that is National Disaster Management Authority, whatever. Then state level disaster management authority. Then we have district level, DIDMA, the district level disaster management authority. But even the district level, they started going down. Okay, it has to be community based. Let the community participate and let them decide. In case of a disaster, what do we do? And some of the best examples, if I came to know, see, Tamil Nadu, I can give a lot of example. I could give from Orissa and the Northeast. Why I'm choosing Northeast now, I'll choose an example of Assam. So Assam has a very robust disaster apparatus. So there are a lot of communities which face the wrath of Brahmaputra every year. So water level rises, and they know when the water level rises, it will be in the monsoon. You would have heard of Kaziranga. It gets inundated every time. They'll put a photograph of some rhinos getting stranded. Is difficult. Mother is this side, and big rhino mother is that side, and the child is the other side, like that. So what happened in these areas when we were interacting with Assam? We found that every year, whenever the disaster will happen, a lot of people get totally cut off, and their area is not accessible. So the kind of approach was we will give them food, we'll go rescue and all. But a lot of people said this is not the time we want. So they said we need to save our livestock, because our livelihood is not only dependent on farming or doing agriculture, but it is livestock. We have cattle, we have goats. So these are very important to us. No, but every time flood, we lose them. We don't have fodder for them. After some time, we run out because everything is wet. So you're giving us food, is for us. But what about our livestock, and what about our animals? What do we do with them? So we need you to help us. So the community, the local villages, they came forward. Apart from this, okay, when we have livestock, we need the place. We need to rescue them also. You can come and you can take me in a boat. But what about my cow? I cannot leave my cow here. What will you do to rescue my cow? So these were kind of problems they came up with. And when these problems came, the solution had to be provided. Community came together, it put up a problem. They don't have those many resources. Now resources can be asked. In those kind of scenarios, the community-based plan which was given, we included a boat. We included a boat in which we had a flat bottom. See, if you know a cow, you cannot put in a dinghy. Dinghy is that inflatable boat. It is soft. So it will bend. So what we did, we made a flat bottom dinghy with the metal, like a aluminium. So an animal could stand on it. Then it will not go up and down. So the solution came because community asked for it. Then another example, which you said, the indigenous use of technology, they themselves planned. They made a boat of bamboos. They cut the bamboos. They said, okay, the bamboos are very light, they float. And so they tied them together. It's like a raft. They made a raft. So they kept all these materials. They could make a raft out of it. Then They themselves said, you are giving us these inflatable jackets to save us in disaster, but we don't need them. They said we use these, if you see, I think 2 liter or 4 liter those bottles of Coca-Cola. So if you just empty it and you keep it tight, and you keep 4 or 5 bottles, tie them to a rope, and then you put around your body, you will float. So these kind of solutions they told us, we were not aware of it. So we took this knowledge from them, and when we used to go to visit other villages, we used to tell them, say, we also know. So then they started storing just before the monsoons. They'll store these bottles in bulk. So, and they'll keep a rope, normal nylon rope or whatever. So there are so many. Each and every community, whenever disaster used to happen, nobody waited for somebody to come and rescue. They rescued themselves. So the local level or the grass, what we call is a level 1 responding, used to happen automatically. People would save themselves. So there is a lot of information there, lot of local solutions there, which are available. Rather, we have to still learn from them how to actually use that cost-effective solutions. So these two things which I had in my mind, I shared with you. So I hope, Prafulit, it was little of some help to you.
Yes, I definitely was.
Good evening,
can
sir.
I ask a most easy question to you?
Yeah, Suresh is my batchmate.
Hi,
Suresh is
Nice to
it's
see
very
you and
difficult
hear
to
from
answer his questions, but he's giving me an easy one. So, yes, Suresh.
Is there a role of geographers to talk about prevention of disasters? Because I know there is does the management also include happening, for stopping the disasters to happen in some way or the other, or you cannot? That's what I would say. You have said that the pizza has to be cut in, and eaten in slices. That's what the world today is, that you would make roads, you would make networks, you would make, settlements more prone to floods, you would make buildings more prone to earthquakes, you would make everything which is actually making up for a disaster to happen. But then what is the preventive? Is there a role for geographers can play in preventive planning?
Yeah, Doctor. I mean, right, you're hitting the nail right on the head. See, there is definitely a role in prevention. We cannot say prevention does not exist. As rightfully said, most of the disasters which we talk about are natural disasters, which we cannot prevent. But prevention can be done. The natural phenomena will take place, irrespective of what you may do. So, somebody.
Yes, sir, you continue,
Hello.
sir.
Yeah, sorry. I was telling him, so I touched my. So, I see there is a definitely role. Prevention is there, and it will form a part of mitigation. How do you mitigate disaster? So it will be part of that. But yes, certain geological and atmospheric features will continue. If we have to prevent them, we have to move away. We have to move away from the coast, not make a cities on the coast, so that the global warming and then further rise of the sea water. So that's very simple. Then we have example of floodplains, or making high-rise building in sub-Himalayan areas, or places like Delhi, the zones which are more vulnerable. But I will move a little bit ahead. Why we can say that geographers have a role, and why prevention? See, because the geography as a tool, I've never found any other subject which actually correlates two things. Very simply, whatever is available on the ground, which is the physical things are available, then what is the theory behind it? So what we learned in human geography about migration, that is one of the most fascinating stories I always find about migration, being also after for civil services, the history student also. So migration, humanity has evolved only because of migration. So when you know the migrations took place, why even say the so-called Indo-Gangetic Plain is more populated? It is because of migration. The weather was good, water was available, soil was good. So there was migration. So only geography gives overall comprehensive structuring, because you're learning about the human aspects, you are learning about the human behaviors, and you have a data how things happened before. So that human aspect you're putting on the ground, you're fixing, plotting them, which is the real time figures. So definitely, when you do this, you will find out there are certain places which we should not go to. This is a place where we should not enter. If we enter, we are going to face some kind of a natural onslaught. Once we do that, it will become part of prevention. So, but if you say preventing a real feature from not hitting us, or stopping earthquake from happening and all, which we know, all these things are beyond us. It will never be possible. But yes, using the geographical data, historical data, and theories, I think we should be able to predict, like making a new town or making a new development, which area we should go and settle in future. Maybe Chandigarh is again a very beautiful example why a city like Chandigarh was chosen, because it satisfied lot of aspects, but not couple of them also, like earthquake also, it could not do that. So we prevented a lot of things from happening. Yes, prevention is possible through geography, 100%. No doubt about it.
I was just asking Sandeep, in the case of, for example, learning from COVID, just to add that, we say that our doctors and nurses, they are under pressure because of this unprecedented numbers and which are happening. So has it ever happened in your career where we have said that we have so many disaster management professionals and we are actually going to face so large number of disasters in future with increased intensities of natural disasters, that either we should prepare for that or we should avoid these disasters, or we should reduce the numbers? That's what the kind of numbers which I'm talking about. We don't have those kind of disaster management professionals. That's what.
Yeah, we will. I think we will never be able to, in a country like India, we will never be able to have those many resources, or in terms of human resources like deployment, in terms of physical resources, in terms of say providing so much of medicine in case of COVID, of course, but in case of other natural disasters, giving them relief. See, it is all tantamounts to money. The disaster is a very big industry. Why we use the word management? Management should never have come. So somebody smart was there. I mean, much smarter than all of us sitting here. He thought this becomes part of a management. Whenever you say management, you should think of MBA. When you think of MBA, you should think of money. When you think of money, you should think of there is somebody behind who wants to make more money. So the whole aspect of this is an interlinked thing. So when we are willing to spend money and see disaster mitigation and prevention, the money is not an investment. We right now don't view this as an investment for future generations, or investment from our point of view to improve the standards of living. We say this is waste. साला वहाँ पे शेल्टर बना के रखना है कोस्टल एरियाज में, क्या जरूरत है? पता है 10 साल में एक बार ही आएगा, वो पड़ा रहता है, वो वेस्ट हो जाता है. So all these things are set things in our mind. So whenever disaster happens, we will not be able to have actually the kind of resources needed ever, at least in this country. Yes, what we will still have is we will have some kind of a response. That's why there is a concept in response also, the first responders. Why should we wait for the government to do it? That's Prafulit question also. Why not local communities come themselves? Why do we wait for an aid? Why do we ask somebody to come? I should do it myself. Anyway, I have to save my life. But why don't I do it in a planned manner? So most of the community evaluation, everything should come at that level rather than expecting. Otherwise, government intervention will remain limited. Resources will be a constraint. Money will not be there. What we will do is we will give a first response. We'll reach there, rescue them. But after that, there is so much. If you know how the insurance sector works now, crop insurance and others, of course, my dear friend Dr. Suresh has done so much of work on it, and he keeps on doing it. The amount of money afterward which goes as compensation for damages is huge. And most of the people just, inflate the figures, and maybe it serves the political masters also. It is their constituency. So it's a very difficult thing. We will never be able to have those much resources. Anybody else?
Yes,
Good
sir.
evening, sir.
Yeah,
There
Yeah,
is
so-
question from Johra ma'am side.
yeah. Ma'am, good evening. I think her mic is on. Or...
Ma'am, your mic is not working. You are not audible, ma'am. No, ma'am, no, sorry. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
अभी आ रही है?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, good evening. कैसे हैं
Yes.
मैम आप?
मैं ठीक हूँ. I'm so happy that I was informed and I was able to join, and it's lovely to see Dr. Sinha and Kaushal Saab and Anshu. Lovely to see them. I also teach about management, and I have 3 things to talk about. One of them is when I was a student, Kaushal Saab might remember, and Dr. Sinha, that I did an expedition where we walked along the coast of India. And when we did that expedition, we came up with lots of recommendations, and one of them was to create a coastal states commission, because most of the coastal states will have similar type of disasters, natural hazards they face. That time, Mrs. Gandhi said this will happen, and it was taken over, but it got disappeared. But people like you can think of something as a part of mitigation program, planning for mitigation. And because of the climate change, we will have more and more natural disasters that we'll have to cope with in terms of intensity and frequency. So the other point is that there is a app which is called What 3 Words people can download on the phone, and that will make the response much faster and locate people within 3-meter radius. Has anybody heard of What 3 Words app?
Ma'am, what exactly? I mean, your voice was slightly.
Just for a second, Sandeep.
Yes, sir.
Zora Fatima, outstanding student, and she was the first student of when I started teaching in geography, Yale College. And the best was that the Zora could remember that they were in the first year and I just passed out.
Yes.
And then finally I started teaching. They were the final year, so they could not understand what to call me. And that was something very different. I hope they all enjoyed, and we too had a great company as a student-student relationship rather than a teacher. But yes, she worked on a very, very important issue on corals, and she went to Arabian Sea, and she had a deep sea dives to understand the different kind of corals. Probably I remember, Zora, that's the same thing, no? And then she finally did her, and then she went to UK, and that was an INLAC scholarship, and she joined Oxford. And probably now she teaching geography for 21st century. And she has a very outstanding academic record, and always helpful to meet students, those who go to the UK. I always give a reference that you go and meet Zora Fatima. And then she married a person from England, and he's also a professor in physics in University of Oxford. I hope we had the same kind of relationship. I know her sister also. She keeps talking to me quite often. And she was very well known. Her father was also working as a journalist in Hindu at that time. So Professor Majumdar, and then her father, they used to always come to D school, and long chat and discussions were always held. So that was a great experience we had with Zora Fatima, and she's always in touch with us. Thank you, Zora, for joining for today's discussion with Sandeep. I hope I just made a point that Sandeep has been a very outstanding officer plus an academician kind, always worried about the geographers. So now you can just get back to Jora, Sandeep.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, please carry on, ma'am. We heard about the app you are mentioning. There are different apps of this nature. Ma'am, please carry on.
Yeah, this app is very useful. This is on TED Talks as well. If anybody wants to listen, you can put this word in and you can hear this on, and it helps. Especially, this app has been developed for countries like India and developing countries in Africa, where you need to reach people quick enough, and you don't have postcodes or you don't have pin codes to reach them, and this will help with quick responses in terms of any disaster management. And I also wanted to know how India is preparing for.
मैम सॉरी मैम,
Yes,
मैम आप आवाज एको कर रही है बहुत ज्यादा और किसी को सुनाई नहीं दे रहा सही से. Am I
is it
right?
better now?
हाँ संदीप सर, आपके साथ आपको भी ऐसा लग रहा है कि आपको क्लियर वॉइस दी जा रही है?
But there is some interruption, but I'm trying to make most of it. I got the first point about the coastal states, that commission. Second is about, ma'am spoke about this app and 3-meter radius. But third one, I think that little bit, ma'am, if you reduce the volume little bit in your thing, then it will be better.
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah, little bit more you reduce, so that you are actually wearing headphones, so it should not echo much. But little bit if you reduce, it'll be better. Yeah, now you may say, ma'am.
Okay, sorry about that. The other thing was that because of climate change, India is going to face lots of challenges. Is there a comprehensive planning for atmospheric, tectonic, and other man-made or anthropogenic disasters?
Can I respond now, ma'am? Can I respond? Okay. And ma'am, if you just put your this thing, no speaker phone, you press that off. It'll be better for it won't echo then. You know how to put it off, the speaker phone. Yeah, now it's okay. It's okay. Ma'am, very simply put it, when you people actually did that survey and when you started, if you know, India went through a whole change of the laws and how the disaster was viewed. Earlier years, the disaster was a sole prerogative of Ministry of Agriculture. So because being an agrarian economy, India always viewed disaster from the point of view of agrarian problem. So the farmers, I mean, if it is drought, what happens? The farmer is not able to grow crops. If there is a flooding, it was all agriculture. And if you still see in district level or state, generally it is the relief commissioner. The relief commissioner looks after disasters. So relief commissioner was a person who used to actually give relief during agrarian crisis. So famines used to be there and a lot of other kind of issues. So disaster was never treated by us as a something to take by the horn. It all started in the year 1999 when Orissa super cyclone took place. So once the super cyclone came, the government of state government and the government of India, everybody felt that our response is not what it should have been. Then it was found out most of the agencies don't report to agricultural ministry and they don't report to agricultural commissioner. So this man did not have role over the other people who are part and parcel of this whole setup. So what should be done? They said, okay, let us try to tinker. So at that time, the planning commission came up with a proposal. Okay, why not shift disaster from agriculture ministry to home ministry? So once we shifted to the home ministry, because home ministry, internal security, internal mechanism, the home ministry is more competent. It has more resources. So why not shift it there and to have a more focused approach? So that's how it started. Then of course everything is a history. When 2004 that Indian Ocean tsunami took place, and then 2005 the Disaster Management Act came into power, and we have moved on from the time. So when you talk about the Coastal States Commission, being a police officer and a law and order officer, I was also IG Coastal Security for Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is one of the states where we have about more than 950 kilometers of coast. So the government of India, there are a number of commissions. One is a developmental thing, you can say. The other is also the security paradigm. So all these coastal cities, there is somebody known as in Government of India, Ministry of Home, called as JS Border, Joint Secretary Border. So Joint Secretary Border also has somebody under him called as DS, Deputy Secretary of Coastal Areas. So all these paradigms, developmental as well as security and response-wise, the mechanism has started. We deal with each other, we understand each other's problem. Even say infiltration and all also happens in this paradigm. So we have moved much ahead. Even for vulnerability profiling, which we used to do in NDRF, the problem of the coast of Kerala is different, where the erosion is shifting inwards. Places like Trivandrum, Kovalam, all these things, the sea erosion is taking place at a massive scale. But if you go towards the other side, maybe Visakhapatnam, toward that side, you don't have this problem. The problem is of different nature. So even if the coastal states are there are many problems which are similar, but uniqueness is there. So the vulnerability profiling and the response of each and every coast has been mapped. We are already at that stage. Most of the mapping is already done. Mechanisms are there. So that is being taken care of. But of course, it's an evolutionary trend. We are not jumping. We are in an evolutionary trend. So that's what I could say about the Coastal State Commission and where we are. The second thing is about the app. Now, these apps are very popular. In police app, and today in my phone, we have a Chennai police app. I can put now, if a woman is in distress, she presses a button, we get a alert, and our 100 vehicle or PCR vehicle, it goes and responds. So these apps and technology is now so much proliferated. We are getting all these things. Yes, you're right. Once somebody is stuck in a disaster place, if they tell us, we can go and rescue. But we see there are always shortcomings also. Most of these devices are cellular devices. The minute my tower is down, this becomes a dummy. I have a GPS in this. But with the GPS, I cannot locate everybody. What happens, we have seen in disasters, first casualty is electricity. Okay, when electricity goes, the tower works generally on backup. We have redundancy too of generator, but generator runs on diesel. Now diesel also runs out. So the tower is dummy. कोई बिजली नहीं है तो टावर का कनेक्शन कैसे होगा? तो आपके सेल फोन का कनेक्शन चला जाता है. When सेल फोन का कनेक्शन चला जाता है तो हम लोकेशन कैसे ढूंढेंगे आपकी? और कई बार साइक्लोन्स में हम देखते हैं कि टावर्स एंड टावर्स दे ऑल गो. So you work in a situation which is like a blackout. Even if a person is trying to say we not, हम तो कश्मीर के फ्लड के अंदर in Srinagar, I remember people they were stranded. They could not send message to us. They used to tell us कि सर हम बाद में जब पूछे कि कैसे बताते हैं, हम तो फोन ही नहीं कर पा रहे, हमारी तो बैटरी खत्म हो गई थी, बिजली नहीं आ रही थी, मोमबत्ती से तो हम रह रहे थे, तो हम सेल फोन कहाँ से बात करेंगे? So this is one thing we tell people. Keep mobile chargers in a disaster situation. Keep mobile charger extra. And don't use and put it on a battery safe mode. So these are small things which you learn with experience. I can carry for 3-4 days. But if I keep on making, हाँ मैं ठीक हूँ, सबको 100 जनों को बताऊंगा तो 1 घंटे में बैटरी खत्म हो जाती है. So that kind of those apps are available, ma'am. And third thing is about climate change planning. What I heard, I'm still as a student, I can only talk. I really not involved with that directly. But I think my colleague, my friend, Suresh is there. So they have been dealing with this in Delhi. Maybe later he can speak on this. Or Suresh, would you like to answer now?
Hi, Joharaji. This is Suresh Rohila. I work at CSC. I'm the Senior Director of Water Program here. There is something happening, but not everything happening as per the standards of developed world. Though our friend Sandeep did say that, GIS and all those things and other things, but for the climate sciences and the modeling and all those, we need data. And that kind of data sets are not available in India. For example, if you look at the flood data, for example, if we really have to look at the rainfall data, those kind of data sets are not available to do that kind of modeling for preventive planning and all those stuff. So first is that, whether we can have mixed methods approaches. So in India, I think the government of India is also struggling on that. And they are trying to have a mixed method approach to that, I would say, though I'm not, trying to speak on behalf of government. But what I want to say is that there are tools available. And I think, as Sandeep was saying, from the days when we studied geography, then we know that tools were there always. But the problem is the data sets availability. So in the developed world, there are enough data sets to do all those modeling and all those stuff. And the kind of changes, the rapid pace at which the changes happen, which enhance the, loss to the life and property. For example, the rainfall events, for example, we say that the frequency is increasing. So number of days, rainy days is reducing and the frequency of rainfall is increasing. So this itself is, but the data is not available. We have only hourly or daily data. And in Delhi, national capital only, you have only 4 or 5 monitoring stations. This is the state of the affairs. How do we plan for long term, and how do we do, if you look at the developed world, there will be 15-minute interval rainfall data to plan for climate change and all those things. So I think data is one of the main things. And, but then that doesn't mean we cannot plan for disasters. There are mixed method approaches. There are cultural and historical data sets in the form of narratives, in the form of various other things, which combined together can be used to prepare a resilient framework for climate adaptation in India. And that's what was my question to Sandeep also, that our responses to climate change will have to be a little bit different from the developed world, where we have enough data sets to do minute-to-minute planning. So I think that I would end here. So Sandeep, I think you would take it on forward from here. And look forward to connecting, Joraji, sometime with you. I was just there a month ago in Norwich. My daughter studies there, so I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. So if anybody else, we can take some more questions. I think no youngsters are they are not coming. Prafulit, I think you have
Good evening, sir.
them. You have psyched them. Yeah.
Good evening,
Vaibhav?
sir. Vaibhav Singh from
Yeah.
Political Science Honors this side.
Yeah.
Sir, I wanted to know that whenever some national level forces are mobilized to a particular region for disaster relief operations, so how much language difference comes up as a barrier in the operations, or is it no barrier at all?
Vaibhav, a very nice practical question you've asked. See, the government of India, the national level deployment of the forces takes place from NDRF. So NDRF comprises of a mix of people who come from various forces like BSF, CRPF, CISF, ITBP. And the common language people speak is Hindi. But if suppose somebody was to get to go to somewhere in Karnataka and say Karwar area to give a response, and the forces are coming from outside, it is very difficult. We have felt that. I mean, communication is a big barrier and a big challenge. That's why whenever we land at a place, suppose NDRF is already deployed, because NDRF has a regional outlook. What NDRF used to do, suppose my area, the battalion which looks after Karwar in Karnataka is a battalion based out of Pune. So the Pune battalion has a one regional response center in Karnataka based out of Bangalore. So this team, whenever we say something called peacetime means when non-disaster area time. So disaster can happen anytime, but we know the cyclic nature of monsoon, Indian monsoon, they prepare us for disaster. So same, for example, 8-9 months you are free. What do you do? So what we used to do, we used to send these teams down to the field, to district level, and to go and do the hazard mapping, vulnerable profile mapping. So when they go there, they are in touch with the collector. They are in touch with the Tahsildar or a sub-collector, SDM, ADM. वो grassroots तक ना, they try to maintain a link. So when they do that, they create one person from their side who is our liaison officer. But suppose a disaster is of unprecedented magnitude, like a cyclone, what happened in Orissa or some kind of, let's say, Uttarakhand, we had a problem. Siddharth, welcome Siddharth. My one more colleague is just joined, so I can see his face, so I have to welcome him. So we all studied together. So what happens in that kind of a scenario when you are having multiple deployment? If the deployment is from the local area, local people, we also try to identify if somebody is from Karnataka in that battalion, he will become our person to communicate. If not, the district administration will give us a person. But if both fail, in a sense, somebody is coming from outside, we request the district administration to keep a liaison officer, because you need to be guided also, where to go, how to go. So there is a mechanism. So once you land, you report at a particular place. From there, you will have some kind of thing. But we have seen certain disaster, you have to rush. Everybody is rushing. But at the time, we're not having time for a coordination meeting, tie-up meeting, deployment. So at times, we face that problem, but that is very remote. But this factor is catered to by advanced planning, advanced liaison, advanced working together kind of a relationship. It is made as a part, but language is a serious thing, because in India, I mean, the way our profile or how things are, the states are, language is common language speaking is very difficult, and we need liaison officers. We need somebody to translate. Vaibhav?
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Sandeep, I did write one question. I wanted to have your reaction, though I can have it later on also. But when, as simple as that, the liabilities of disasters, which is a management response, why can't they be reduced? For example, I remember moving into a building in US where they said outside it was written, if you move in this building, you are going at your own risk and no insurance coverage will be given. So why can't some things of like this part of the disaster management, why don't the disaster management professionals emphasize on these things?
Yeah, but my question is the eternal question, which we always answer in third world country or a developing country like India. So if we put the onus on somebody to fend for themselves, or say for a poor house constructed by say Yamuna in Delhi, those houses which are in the floodplains, and later on they get inundated, or maybe due to liquefaction and all, suppose something collapse, you cannot put the responsibility on a poor person. So in a country like India, where we claim, you know, I mean, the government is a government which works for the poor, and majority are poor, and you know, if we put this thing, I don't think so. The government or how the political parties feel, it will be big political. It will be seen as anti-people move. So it can be put, but no political party or a government will take a chance. So it's I mean, slightly tricky. I mean, nobody would like to be unpopular. No.
The resilience towards threat to life and property will continue to be there. You people will be under pressure. A
political person does not think the way academicians think. So their priorities are very different. So a political leader would not like to become unpopular. It will be seen as an anti-people move, where already people are burdened with so much of other financial liabilities. One more liability is put on them. So I don't think we are living in present day India where this will happen for many years to come. It's a political question, I'm saying. I'm putting it in that. I'm not saying theoretically. Theoretically possible, but politically not.
Hi, Sandy. This is me, Deepak Sharma this side. How are you guys?
Yeah, Captain. How are you, Captain? Welcome to the gang.
Captain, you have demoted me from brigadier to captain. How are you doing? Good to see you all.
I have confused you with our other Deepak.
All right, no worries. Sinha sir, namaskar, and so nice to see you here. And Dr. Zora, welcome, and I'm glad that you finally made it. And Siddharth Chima, good to see you after a long time. You still look the same though. Okay, now I have a few things to talk about. Yes, sir.
Deepak. Hello, Deepak.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I could see Siddharth Chima joining for a while. I don't know whether he's there or not.
He's there, sir. He's
ask him to show his face also.
No, he's showing his face, sir. You have to click on the members and then see. He will.
No, I can't see his face. I don't know how I'll be able to do that.
हम फोटो लेके भेजते हैं सर आपको.
अगर ये बोलेगा सिद्धार्थ, say something, then you can be seen. Say something, Siddharth.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Siddharth, go.
I'm
Siddharth.
I'm a better listener, sir. Namaskar.
Oh, Siddharth, if I could have met you somewhere, I could have never recognized you.
I don't know, sir. I hope for the better.
Oh, What a great change. He's really look like proper European person now. All red and red.
सर वो कैमरे की लाइट ज्यादा है, कैमरे की लाइट
Siddharth, how's your life?
All is well, sir. All is well.
Just keep disaster for a while on the side.
I better go now.
and we leave this disaster to Sandeep, but we never had a choice for disaster, isn't it?
That's true.
ज्यादा embarrass हो गया.
So anyway, let's go ahead with it.
Brigadier साहब, please.
Yeah, sure, Sandy. Sandy, first of all, I must confess that this is for the first time I am speaking to someone who is experienced throughout in this disaster management. I do have few questions, or rather I would say thought in my mind. If I can ask you this, since the time you have joined until date, on the scale of 1 to 10, what are the changes you would have observed in the government's approach in terms of meeting with these disaster management requirements?
Should I answer? This is
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Changes from 1 to 10. I think we are in somewhere in the scale of between 6 to 7 right now. Reason is conceptually we were very weak in early 90s. The concept was firmed. The laws were made. The government moved in a very systematic manner. That's what I keep on saying to events which change the way we look at disasters. 1999 super cyclone and 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. That actually changed the whole paradigm. So if we start from a scale to 1, they straight away took us to somewhere between 4 to 5. Then between 4 to 5 and 6 to 7, I'm giving 2 points more. Reason is we moved after the concept was made, the framework was made, the institutions were set up. To set up an institution is not very easy. Then to get a budgetary support is not very easy. Once you get that, then you have to go on the ground. All these things have happened over the period of time. So even if we say we are between 6 to 7, 6.5 to say, 3.5 covering the last mile, it's like a marathon. No, I mean, the last couple of miles are the toughest when you do. So now when you have come to this stage, the remaining distance to be covered, it's a very difficult one because these are the challenging things which requires highly motivated human resources. We need technological upgradation. We need lot of money to reach that stage. So this I would put it at that.
Okay, that's very kind of you. I mean, 6 to 7, what you're saying is good enough, but I feel you are being generous there on the numbers. You see, if I have to, broadly look at the disaster management, now, given the various areas, I mean, as you gave the example of the pizza slicing, I would slice the areas based on the landscape or where you have the frequent rains or floods or earthquakes or droughts, or, where you might have sensitive and vital installations or, some hazardous industries. And then I will specifically design the, the disaster solutions for those given areas and have the team ready, irrespective whether incidents happen or don't happen. And, just make sure, because see, it's all, when it comes to training, it is all human beings which are involved. I'm only talking about the human perspective here, because see, for assets, the other, properties and equipments, you can always have the insurance and that can be claimed under that. But human assets is difficult to replace. So I think our prime focus should be on that, and also ensure that the life goes on, as normal as possible. So if we have those dedicated teams ready, train, retrain, because ultimately that results in better quality at the end and people get accustomed to it. Secondly, I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but I feel there is no active participation of the private sector in this particular area. Why the private sector is not being encouraged to take over, the critical areas. And I'm sure if they can get into food distribution, they can get into anything that the government is in, but why not disaster management? I think this probably can also be regulated by the Indian government that, okay, if Adani wants to take an airport contract, then 5% or 10% of their revenue has to be diverted to the risk-prone areas, and then they must be held accountable, or they should have their team available. Thirdly, the DM, is it becoming a part of a syllabus in the schools and colleges and universities? Because we need to have more and more number of people who come with this right qualification and who can be trained or sent abroad or whatsoever, so that we have the right resource available. Abhi hota kya hai? There is a problem, there is a flood, there is this, or whatever kind of a disaster, call military. Everything is dependent on military, or call paramilitary. Now, everything for us has been reactive. Okay, fine. All of us are about 50, 55 years, and we have been seeing it since ages that is always reactive. There is no preventive approach to it, right? Now, India is giving IT support to the world. Now, all these areas, one after another, we keep on having floods, we keep on having all these natural or man-made disasters, but hamare paas data nahi hota. Now, why can't we have the algorithms-based, put the technology or systems in place that, okay, this is the forecast for next year. There may be a monsoon in the Teri Garhwal area, so that our rescue team or disaster management teams are ready in that particular area. Or, if earthquake comes, then we could have the people or team ready in coastal areas. I mean, don't you think that would be a better approach if it concentrated efforts are made? Because every time we talk about anything, I'm not talking about this particular thing, whether it is healthcare, whether it is infrastructure development, this and that, challenges are there. But then somebody has to take this forward and do it strategically with a timeline that, okay, in 5 years we are going to have these many schools, these many number of people trained. Abhi hota hai kya hai, National Disaster Recovery Ministry is headed by Prime Minister. Now, Prime Minister, does he have time to do all that? Or the people down below, are they really doing their job seriously? Every time we see in the news any calamity is there will be army people surrounded by 50 guys who will be wearing the badge of National Disaster Recovery Management, and they're trying to come on the TV or do whatever. I mean, sorry, this is my 2 cents.
Yeah. No, your points are well taken, Brigadier. So I've noted down 4. I mean, I'll just go in order. I mean, it's easy for me also. Not that I'm a specialist in all these things. I mean, I am also into this profession by virtue of my job. And then as a student of geography, that's where we started. Now, regarding your, you had first raised about first responders, that ready standalone teams are there. I mean, see, the knowledge about what the government does, these are not a very what you get. The media is not very interested to know teams are ready or not. So many people don't hear about it, and they don't carry the news about this. I can give you man-made disaster, something we call CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. It's a very important man-made disaster which happened in Bhopal also. And off and on we hear about some nuclear, there's that particle or some chemical thing. So you should, all the nuclear power plants in India, there is a protocol, and the first response teams which we have set up with the Department of Atomic Energy, and the kind of machines which we have got with them and with us in India, because it's something which I'm talking are hinging on slight classified thing, but I will share with this in a limited group. It's not that the teams are not available. Where the most critical nature industries are there, they are planned and they're prepared and they're deployed. Then even for less critical, where the government sector like CISF, I was part of CISF for 3.5 years. Bigger industries, the CISF has been well trained. CISF, they have their main academy in Hyderabad called NISA. Along with NISA, they have another small unit where they train only for disasters and for fire safety. So these teams are available. It's not that it is not available or it is not. Yes, we may not have that kind of lucrative projections of them, or we may not be what we see in the Western thing, that kind of much more sophisticated response. Even for in America, the 9/11, if you know, no matter what happened, how many firemen who died and people who died. In spite of all the latest in the world, when it happened, it happened. We had to respond. We cannot say we could save it with algorithms and all. No, something happens. That's what happens in police. When we were SP, some murder takes place, some dacoity takes place, 4 people died. If they died, so they died. We have to face it. We have to move on. We have to respond to the crisis which we have at hand. We cannot wait. Why did it happen? That we will take and we will face it as and when it comes. So why even the scale of 6 to 7 is we have evolved in 20 years. See, 20 years from 1999 to 2021 is just say maybe 22 years. It's a very short period of time. In that we have leapfrogged a lot of places. So first response is there. And that's how the Praful had raised a very beautiful question about, not Praful. Now I didn't write, this was, community-based disaster management practices. Prafulit only had asked about that, indigenous technology. So now the concept is shifting. Concept is shifting to training first responder. First responders are people in the field, people who actually face disaster. So idea is we cannot from the center, Government of India, see, first of all, we have to understand, India is a federal structure. Government of India has a very limited role when you come to district administration. It is basically the state government which looks after. Government of India comes to aid a little bit beyond that. But the role of a district SP, district collector is the prime role. From there, the state administration. Then the center. Center is much later. I mean, we cannot say the states are dependent on center. No, it will be wrong to say. So we are denying the first and second responder role capability. The people who are actually daily doing the bread and butter, who are getting involved in day-to-day work, we are denying them. No. So I think the Government of India, whether it's military, NDRF, paramilitary, they come much later. They are third responders. They are not first responders. The point is to create first responder force. I agree with you totally regarding the school and the private sector participation. So private sector, 2% of the money they give to CSR. In CSR, they are doing a lot of activity. Yes, they should encourage in disaster also. They should say out of the 2%, the district collector generally sits with an industry who has there and he gets the money. He should divert. Actually, there is a Government of India. I don't know how many of you know, in Planning Commission, each and every budget of any ministry of Government of India, 2% of the money has to be spent on disaster related and response mechanism. So once you say thousands and thousands of crore rupees is given, so 2% of that has to be spent in disaster preparation and disaster mitigation. But most of the ministries, we are evolving. Even if the money is there, they don't know how to spend. So the problem is a bit different. I think it's an evolutionary model. But I agree with you, first level responder, private sector, they all have a role. They should play, but we cannot leave it to them. It has to be managed by the community first, then the local responders who are the local administration, and then the third level from the outside. As regarding data and algorithm, see, I think you should sometime, maybe if you get an opportunity, you can visit a state control room, how the disaster management control room. It may not be what we say with full of AC, there's that gizmos, machinery, no, but the data is there. And historical data, because India was a colony of the Britishers, India has some of the most reliable data of all the disasters available in the world, because Britishers recorded and catalogued everything. So the data, there is no dearth of it, but the data predicting through the algorithm that this will happen there and all, I think it is, we are not in that kind of sophistication, even with modern day supercomputers and all, we cannot predict. But yes, data is there. We are having a system. So I think these are what I feel. I mean, I just had a discussion. I'm not trying to be a master in what you're asking. I just thought I'll share with you what you asked me. Brigadier?
Yeah, that's fine. I really appreciate it. Of course, we both are just kind of having a brainstorming session here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are these concerns I had, and I think some of them are really valid one. If the private sector can be involved, I mean, if they are allotted the projects, and then there should be some kind of a standard regulation on part of the government, because you see what
private sector is there to make money, Brigadier. Let us understand.
Yeah, I know.
Where the priority lies. Nobody is going to spend, like you and I, we are not going to go and spend our money for every poor fellow we see outside. Okay, it is asking somebody in a private sector to leave their profit-making module. So we are getting in the theory of laissez-faire and how the present-day crony capitalism is there. So it's a very big theory. I don't think so it will work. I think government has to take, and government is the right tool.
Sandeep,
sir.
We can have some more questions from the junior lot.
Yes,
those who are still in the college and the university.
मैं तो उनकी wait ही कर रहा हूँ, sir.
Yes. And any student from KM College and the D School or JNU can ask questions from Sandeep.
Before that, sir, maybe
Achha, yes.
on their behalf. Sandeep, being a super specialist of this field, please tell the students about career paths in this field from geography.
सर थोड़ा जो एंड का आपका ट्रांसमिशन एंड में थोड़ा सा अनक्लियर था सर. इफ यू मे काइंडली रिपीट सर.
I'll repeat. Please advise the students about career prospects in disaster management. Students of geography specifically.
Sir, आजकल the way things are turning out, if you know, Government of India has also got an institute called National Institute of Disaster Management (NIDM), जो Indian Institute of Public Administration के साथ में ही है IP state में. So that is one institute. And apart from there, now most of the other institutes, and not so much in India but abroad, they are giving specific courses are there. And there is a requirement of disaster management trained personnel, like what Brigadier was saying. So there is a requirement for a resource person. There is a requirement for resource person in each and every office. And what I said, the 2% of the budget of Government of India in each and every ministry has to be spent. You can imagine once this money has to be spent, there has to be a trained person. When this trained person has to be there, it will be his lookout to actually see how it is spent in a proper manner. So if you say their jobs are coming out in the open market, I can see advertisement, the government is announcing, that may not happen. Most of the work also in NIDM and NDMA, most are basically conceptually and contractual based jobs. For a particular time, you have to do this. But having said this, there is a whole lot of money which is lying in the private sector, CSR also. They would like to spend this money. We don't have people to actually guide how this money has to be spent. So in a present day India, I don't think we should look for somebody to give me a job. Okay, I form an incubator with 4 of my friends and say, okay, I name it as disaster solution providers. So we take project, we give solution. We tell these industries, I am here to offer. So there is all the chief financial officers of these big companies and auditing companies. In the year end, they have to say they have given 2% of money to CSR, but by end of it, they don't have projects. What government agencies give, they do that. But if you are a person who has this thing, you have an incubator, we are 4-5 of us, we target particular industries, we say we have a project, we have this, we will give you. So I think they will come towards here. So rather than to say to get an employment from somebody in disaster management and get a specific job or as per your qualification will be difficult. But at the same time, you can create yourself. You can employ yourself. You can make yourself meaningful. It looks slightly different in present concept, but it is possible. Apart from academics, there is a lot of scope, because again, I say this because government has mandated this money to be spent. And if somebody knows how to spend this money usefully, he can make a lot of money. He can offer to a lot of people. So say, for example, this group itself here, if we decide to set up somebody, say for example, in teaching, disaster management. So there are a lot of people, if they are trained, they can take classes. So there are schools. There is something known as National School Safety Program. When I was working with the NDRF in NDMA, this money was never spent because they didn't know how to spend. The course was there, everything there. Who is going to train? Who is going to take? If we take 100 schools in Delhi today, कि भाई नेशनल स्कूल सेफ्टी प्रोग्राम को हम इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं, हमारे पास इतनी कैपेसिटी है, हम यहाँ पे टीचर्स ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, ये सारी चीजें ट्रेन करेंगे. द दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट, द दिल्ली एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, दे विल से कि भाई आप कर दो, हमसे नहीं हो रहा है, एंड दैट मनी इज लाइंग देयर, द मनी इज गोइंग टू कम टू यू. So we will be living with a disaster management kind of job. You create your own jobs. Maybe you may not get a full time as a standalone particular post कि भाई इसके लिए, उसके लिए agencies थोड़ी कम है. But contractual things are available. Huge projects, NDMA and NIDM does a lot of study. Each and every state, like Gujarat state has one of beautiful model called GSDMA, Gujarat State Disaster Management Authority. So they do a lot of work. So one could approach them with your field of interest and tell them, okay, we do this. So they get money to conduct a lot of research and projects. So you can employ yourself with that. So it is about creation of something like that. But standalone jobs, if we look for a कोई इश्तहार आया, कोई एडवर्टाइजमेंट आया यूपीएससी के थ्रू, वो थोड़ा कम है, चांसेस है. You have to employ yourself, you have to make yourself meaningful.
Yes, anyone else?
Sir, Vaibhav again this side. Sir, I wanted to ask, sir, how synergies are established between disaster management agencies and research institutes like IITs and other National Institute of Technologies. Like we were talking about using data to make predictions. So research into quantum computers can lead the way in that direction as well. So how we go about in that way, in that field?
Yeah, Vaibhav, see, I haven't really come across that kind of a synergy until unless somebody is doing a specific project. I have not, but yes, every university, every major institution, like I'm doing from Vellore Institute of Technology, my PhD. So there also they have got a department of disaster management. So the professor there and the team have been getting a lot of people from abroad. They get a lot of funding to do projects. So each and every institute is having some kind of a department or a combined department of disaster management is there. So they take a holistic view along with their other related fields. Having said that, how the synergy is there, like my professor who is helping me, my guide, he is in touch with a lot of district administration and with Madras University. And because he is originally also from, there is a very famous engineering school here, the Gindi Engineering, or it's called now Anja Engineering. So he was earlier there only. So a lot of his engineer friends are there. So he used to keep on telling me that we keep on doing some kind of brainstorming and we try to get this thing, data and all. But I don't know whether there are ongoing one-to-one institution to institution projects. But this is one field maybe we have not tried. Or wherever you are, or even other institute, if they do a tie-up, I think no other institute will deny. If say, for example, even geography department, maybe KM or any other colleges which are there, they have a tie-up with the IIT for a specific project, they will not say no. It is possible, but a higher level of quantum computation and all that, see, that can only come with government aid. Because sometimes these computers and all are very sensitive, and the kind of data which they process in them is very critical. So until unless government feels, the central government or the University Grants Commission or maybe HRD, they feel that there has to be synergy, it will be difficult. But you can have a smaller level tie-up among yourself. Institutional tie-up, I have actually not seen.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank
Sandeep.
you,
sir. Sir.
So I can, before we formally thank, I can ask Anshu to join in for the concluding part of it, and then we say formally thank.
सर वो सिविल सर्विस का थोड़ा सा रह गया, मैं 2-3 मिनट उसमें भी बता
अच्छा,
देता
हाँ,
हूँ।
बोलो।
वो ज्यादा वो बेचारे वो बच्चे वो हमारी सुनते रह गए सर, उनको
then we get nostalgic, no?
डर के मारे पूछ भी नहीं रहे सर वो।
बीच में फिर हम बोलना और भी शुरू कर देंगे। तो चलो, what is left now, we will not disturb you. Please finish off your remaining part.
So this thing is regarding career choices of career which one could have, and civil services still remains one very good option, because the kind of salaries which you get there are still entry level quite high. And till your end of your career, what salary you will draw will be much higher than your counterparts. Having said that, see, there was an earlier charm in the service regarding the so-called facilities which were available, or the perks, and there were a lot of things one could expect in the service. Again, from the year 1992 when I joined, and now today, what I see and feel in 31 years, we in the government are now more responsible to the people. every action of ours is driven. It is driven for requirement of the general population. So we inherited an earlier model which was a colonial model. It took us a couple of years to get out of that. Those years of 70s and early 80s, coming out from the emergency and the so-called politics, and the opening up of the Indian economy in the 90s to the present. So everything is moving in that. So don't expect too much of in the service in terms of those old world charm and भाई मेरे पास इतने सारे लाल बत्ती वाली गाड़ी है, इतने सारे लोग होते हैं मेरे लिए, वो होते हैं ऑफिस में, नहीं. Now it is more hands on. I mean, one would also like to see most of the things you do. Like I carry my own bag nowadays. And that was also because of COVID, because we would not like people to touch, but I feel very happy. But earlier on, expecting my level of officer to carry even his handbag was not considered. At times, I tell my people not to open my door because it happened basically because of COVID. So I open my door of my car and close it, and most of things on my table I do myself. So I've seen youngsters; they are already like that. Why I'm giving this is a very simple example, but in services also we are moving forward in a delivery mode. So if you join, you're going to get a very good salary. You will have a status in society, and it was always felt civil services comes not only by your joining, a lot of other things which come with it. I think we'll have to let go of that. And we have to see that we are in the service performing for the government and for the people. So we have to learn to do in less. And we have to be more business-like approach. That's what I've seen people like. The youngsters, they may not like an officer who, suppose somebody is coming to meet me, making them wait for a half an hour, 1 hour. It may not be appreciated. Maybe earlier it was expected. If you meet anybody, as soon as they come, they'll fail. ये तो साला मतलब खाली बैठा हुआ है, आपके पास काम नहीं है. So it deliberately will tell them to, but no, it's not like that now. You may, even your own staff, at times we will not even ask our inspectors and all to sit down in front of us. मतलब DSP तक भी बैठता था तो मतलब it was considered, I mean खड़े होके बात करो. But now you may have to tell some lady or some lower subordinate coming, you can tell like, please have a seat, I'll talk to you. So we are going through metamorphosis, but that does not rule your original power. Civil services will remain important because the upper civil services or the higher echelons are meant to deliver. We are like managers. We are managers. I am a manager in a police department. My colleague may be a manager in income tax or in the IAS. We are all upper level management people. So our delivery will always mean the kind of decision making which you will take will be far exceeding the others counterparts in other services. Because your field is very big, because you're dealing with people. The government supports you. Government gives you infrastructure. Government gives you all the facilities. You don't have to bother about that. But the decision making will be yours. Your one decision is going to influence lives of many and many multitudes. Maybe if you're in a private sector, you will benefit your organization. You'll be able to make more money. It's a different thing. But your decision making, how much influence can it have? So if you are that kind of a person, who likes to take decision, or you would like yourself to be relevant. So here is a chance. Yes, politics and politicians are elected by the people, and they are executives. So we cannot say because a politician is there, I will not listen. No, these kind of attitudinal problems will be there. So sometimes a right decision they may not take, but it is us to advise them. So we need not be fearing them, or we need not think that they are anti. No. We have to work out. You have to go as per the rules. And if you can explain to them, politicians are very intelligent people because they deal with so much of public. They are winning elections and coming. So their interaction with general population is so much. So they're highly intelligent people. But if you have to say no, you have to say no logically. I just cannot say no because I am an officer. I have to say no with the proper solid grounds. Okay, this is not possible because of this A, B, C, D. I may be going again. So civil services again will be a very good career choice. It will remain, it will give you job security. Always job security will be there. So you will be joining at a very senior positions, taking a lot of decisions. The government are there to support you. The infrastructure government gives you will always be unique. It will be in your favor. but don't expect the old word charm, and don't expect over too much of that culture of colonial red light. I mean, those things are actually looked down upon. Now we don't look towards them too much more. So the challenges will be there. Locational, if you join IS or IPS, you have to maybe leave your home state. Chances are 1/3 you will get your home state only, 2/3 you may be nearby or somewhere else. But every place is equal. Working conditions are all equal. So we need not feel shy because of the language and all. So these are in a nutshell. I'm sharing from my heart what I feel about the service. I'm not talking technical things. Of course, it's still very difficult to get into civil services. It's one of the toughest exams. So minimum preparation I would give anybody like IIT, if somebody has to give, the child has to start studying from 8th standard for IIT JEE. From 9th he starts getting into the groove. So 4 years of preparation I feel minimum is required for IIT JEE, until unless you're a super brilliant kid and you don't have to study at all, which I refuse to believe, because institutional studies is a must. So for civil services also, while minimum time after graduation or you start, 3 years is minimum. How to master now that the CSAT pattern is also different, and a lot of knowledge, and it's also luck, in spite of all those what you know. So mathematical, analytical ability, all these require more thinking than an art student. So 3 years, I'll say for others to mean the arts के लिए 6 महीने 1 साल और लगा लो. अगर कोई 3.5-4 साल पढ़ के देता है, so chances of getting are extremely good. And if somebody is planning well, you can start from 2nd year. Why do you wait all the while to finish your studies? So that is in a nutshell giving about what I feel about civil services. Sir, thank you, sir.
Oh, thanks, संदीप. मुझे लगता है कि आपने जो 3-4 साल बोला, तो टीचर्स को तो ज्यादा पढ़ना पड़ता है. उसको तो आज पीएचडी जब तक नहीं करेगा तब तक उसको नौकरी नहीं लगेगी. तो he will be around 30, 35, 30 से average age to get into teaching a permanent job is around 34, 35 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it is better to be in civil services rather than to become a teacher.
नहीं सर, बट गुरु तो गुरु ही होता है ना सर. टीचर हम कभी गुरु नहीं बन पाएंगे सर.
In a way, it was really very good, and in a way, so many things were touched upon. I hope I should give this responsibility to Dr. Anshu to sum up your note today, and then we will say formally thanks to you. Anshu, please come in.
एक मिनट, just a minute, Anshu. I am Sudhir Sinha. I am 1974-77 batch. दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में मैंने 1980 में ही भगत सिंह इवनिंग कॉलेज में पढ़ाना शुरू किया था. I would just add to what Sandeep has said. और इनफैक्ट इन 1980s क्लाइमेटोलॉजी का जब मैं पेपर लेता था और जो मैं एग्जाम्पल देता था और कंपेयर करता था, आज के इस लेक्चर में मुझे याद आ गया वो. इन 1980s में साइक्लोन्स मैं कंपेयर करता था कि टॉर्नेडो इन सदर्न यूएस एंड ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन ऑन आंध्रा कोस्ट. मैं मुझे कहता था कि इन टॉर्नेडो योर रिस्पॉन्स टाइम इज ओनली few minutes. Once there is a warning of tornado, you have to respond within 5, 10, 15 minutes, and there hardly used to be any death in the US. Because the system was so well, the government had put things in place. People were aware. In fact, when people used to move on highway, after every 10-15 minutes, they will switch on the radio, look for the warning. And so where the time is minimum, there was hardly any death. But in the case of the cyclone in Andhra, we knew 3 days to 7 days in advance that it is going to hit us, and it used to hit us, and thousands of deaths to take place. This was 1980s, 90s. Sandeep has already talked of it. So when I look at the scenario from what was there in 1980s and 90s and what we have today, India has made tremendous progress in the field of disaster management. Today we may not appreciate it, but if we look at what we were in 1980s and 90s, we really know that how much development has taken place in this field. I just wanted to share this because I used to teach this climatology paper. I used to give this example. So that we can switch things in a proper framework. And I agree with Sandeep. Say from 1980, we were, if I have to give points from 0 to 10, in 1980, even in 1990, perhaps we were at 1. And definitely we are at around 6.5. So tremendous progress. Thanks. This is what I wanted to say.
Thank you for the Sudhir sir. Thank you for your input, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sandeep, and for all others, Dr. Sudhir Sinha has recently been promoted as a professor of geography in Shahid Bhagat Singh College Evening, and everyone should be happy to know that he was senior to us. By the time I left, he left and I joined KM College. But we had a great relationship with each other for a long period of time. Meanwhile, now he's acting principal of Shahid Bhagat Singh College Evening. So congratulations, Sudhir Sinha, for being promoted to a professor and then to be an acting principal of one of our college. So this is for everyone to know that Sudhir Sinha is our alumni and a principal of Shahid Bhagat Singh College. So I would ask now Anshu to come in and formally conclude the lecture. Anshu. I hope she's there.
She's here only. She was just here.
No, she's there. Yes.
She's here.
Can you hear?
Madam को mic on करना पड़ेगा.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
You sum up. Anshu now.
Yes. I think rather than calling you Dr. Kaushal, let me call you Professor Kaushal. He was the first one to become professor from the colleges, and now Professor Sudhir Sinha. So we are, very, very happy to have two professors as geography alumni, and it is a real pleasure to be in company of such professors. Thank you so much, Kaushal, for now. Let me get back to you being Kaushal and me being Anshu. And thank you, Kaushal, for trying to bring us all together on this platform where we can all interact, see each other, and be motivated to join the various professions and various careers that are available to us geographers. And obviously, geography matters, whether it is disaster management that we are talking about, or whether we are talking about what Umesh is doing, a wonderful job as a lawyer and legal helpline in India. Like, he's put that up, and we are really, really proud to have him with us, and we keep on seeing the kind of journeys he is making in his field and taking the name of geographers forward. So having said that, as part of the career, so I think for the youngsters, the students who have joined us today, I would say that any career they can choose, and it's going to be a wonderful one. And Kaushal, thank you for providing this platform for all the geographers to interact, to meet the seniors and the juniors. And I would also encourage more juniors to connect in these series. And now I'd like to formally thank what I should call you, Sir Sandeep Rai Rathore, because, the speaker is always the sir, rather than, because, and for all the other students, you are sir. And so we would really like to thank you for giving such an inclusive talk on a role of geography and geographers in disaster preparedness. We all know, and I think theoretically we all are very much aware about all these various meteorological and geological disasters and so on. But it is the man who's in the center of all this work who can actually tell better about what are the various challenges that we all have to face and how we are going to take things forward and help the humanity and save life and property and everything. How we can take our knowledge forward, how we can, be able to create awareness. and how, as Prafullit had said, the community-based approach, how the community becomes really important. And there is so much that we really need to learn from the community itself. Awareness, obviously the new apps, like Zora said. So everybody has, in this talk, what has been most amazing is that from different walks of life, we all have contributed to the enrichment of this entire topic. So I would like to formally thank everybody. I don't know, Kaushal, if you were intending me to propose this vote of thanks, but I am in any case, I'm thanking everyone to be here. And I would really like to welcome each one of you back to Pirorimal College when the situation is better. And we hope each day that the situation gets better. And, one of these lectures, then we are able to host in the college itself. Thank you all so very much. Kaushal?
Yes. At the same time, I should also thank Deepak, always taking a lot of pain. Where is he? I can't see his face also. But meanwhile, Parful is there, the Suresh is there, Deepika is there. I hope they are taking all that pain to make posters, getting in touch with the speaker, and then coming back with nice presentations. And then I hope we all get in touch with this. I hope this is what the beginning we made, and this is the third line in. This is the third one in the line. I hope after every 15-20 days, we'll continue to join online. I hope this is the best method. We can see people after a long time. I hope in time to come, we will be able to do much better. And once, I don't know, again, the things have gone worse in the COVID. We were planning, if things should have been better, we should have organized again a dinner. And alumni dinner is still pending, Sandeep, and so many things are still there. We want the thing become better. We'll try to get back and organize the same kind of the dinner we had earlier. So many times there has been a gap of 4, 5, 6 years now. So I look forward to the same kind of a participation. I hope good number of people were joined and they did not leave it in between. I hope that is the beauty of Sandeep, of your lecture. And I hope very old senior people join. And nice to see everyone today. So I hope with this, I should say thanks to everyone formally for joining in for all these lectures. I hope we are gaining a strength.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Anshul ma'am, for kind words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kaushal sir. And, it is your inspiration for all of us. And we shall continue to, do whatever we can in our limited capacity. And all these lectures so far have been recorded, and I will be uploading them on our YouTube channel. So, Anshu ma'am, you can forward that link to the students. They can, view it, listen to it as per their convenience, and it can also be shared with the other, geographers that you would know of. Thank you so very much.
So now the Deepak, now the next is to see who will be our next speaker. Hunt for a next speaker now.
Sir, next May, I think
Suresh Kumar. I hope we found out the next speaker. Zora Fatima is going to speak now the next, after 20 days. Zora.
Yes.
So you are going to be our next speaker now. Oh, we will decide. You give us on what particular issue you want to talk on.
Okay.
And then we will circulate it after, say, 10-15 days. We will have your lecture now.
All right. Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
Deepak, all of you should note that Zora has agreed. And after 10-15 days, again, we are going to have a lecture from Zora.
Thank you, sir. Done. Noted.
I'll be honored. And I hope the Geography Festival will carry on in KM College because I started it.
Oh, yes. That is what we are going to do. And it will continue like this.
Oh, that'll be wonderful.
Sir, in the meantime, we can arrange for dinner over Zoom if you want.
Yes, we could all have something in front.
So you are Deepak, arrange with water bottle. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay. That's right.
All right.
Thank you very much for all of you.
God bless. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.